Well, shit. You know how today is kind of a horror day? You know,
How do you know it's a horror day?
you know how you know? I'll tell you how you know.
How do you know it's a horror day?
It's kind of a horror day. Let me, no, hold on.
How do you know it's a horror?
Okay. I took the dog to the vet. Today was appointment for the vet for the final checkups, whatever. And got down to appointment. I went to take her out, and I stuck my hand in the back seat. We put this new plastic on it because she's been peeing on our regular backseat car. So we got it detailed clean because it stunk. So we put this plastic right. And then I didn't know when I stuck my hand and grabbed her, I had my whole hand soaked in dog pee.
Oh
my God. Damn it. Because
bad habit, man. You can't be letting dog.
Yeah, because now we put plastic, it stays there. So there was a dog pee in the back, and it was that kind of a pee that she was excited. She saw people, she saw other animals. So some dogs get extra excited. But if that's the worst of my day to get dog pee all over my arm, hey, that's fine. That's fine.
From what I understand, if you were gonna fight a dinosaur, you want to cover yourself in like urine, another animal's urine. If you wanted to fight a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you were safe if there was a dinosaur attack or like a dragon's attack.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. You know what I'm doing right now for the beautiful people in the chat? I'm going to put something in the chat for them, and then we'll get right into it. I'll tell you the reason why I'm putting this thing in the chat. For a second, let me type this in here. I'm going to type in trick or treat. Now, for a lot of you who have not seen this movie, Trick or Treat, you can actually watch it for free on YouTube. You actually watch it now. I didn't put it in my description because I didn't want to get a strike. I don't know if by them putting a movie on it that could get you a strike if you put it in your own description. So I didn't put it in my description, but if you like what we said about Trick or Treat, right here, you can save it, copy it, and you can actually watch Trick or Treat through YouTube for free. Because you can't find it there, guys. You can't find it. Listen, if you're trying to buy a DVD copy, Bob, you can't go to Walmart anymore and buy Trick or Treat because I don't know who really owns the rights no more. You see this one right here? This DVD came from Germany. To watch the movie, I had to get it from Germany. But I don't know if you know this. Now, in America, the movie's called Trick or Treat. Now, there is a 2007 Trick or Treat, which is not this Trick or Treat. But if you're trying to look for this movie in Germany, they actually call it Ragman.
Yeah.
There's different parts of the country that actually calls this Ragman. But Ragman is the character, Marc Price's character's name. It's not the name of the movie, but in Germany it is. And I won't show you guys on this. This is how you know this is a German case. On the back of this case, there's a scene in the movie where you saw the girl's breast. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, her breast is actually on the back of this cover. In America, that would not happen. So in Germany, they're like, buy this movie. You got girls' breasts on the back of it.
Well, it's Germany. You go up to the Netherlands or you go to Amsterdam, dude, you got the red light district. I was just there. I mean, I'm celibacies, but I was up in that area. You can like get women and they're in the window in the red light district. Anyone you want. Kind of fucking cool. If you're into that.
But now, Trick or Treat. I'm sure there's a lot of people that's never seen the 1986 Trick or Treat who stars Marc Price. If you don't recognize Marc Price used to be one of the actors that used to be a side character in Family Ties.
Yeah, that's where I saw him.
He was the nerd. He was like a nerd in it. In this one, he's still kind of a nerd, but he's a heavy metal nerd. Now, this is where people got to get this part straight. This is why believe it or not, you can talk a lot about this movie because a lot of people think of this movie as this is the heavy metal horror movie of Skippy. Yeah, yep, that's his name. His name was Skippy. Okay. Now a lot of people think this is like the okay, how am I gonna say this? The to make people watch this, people think that heavy metal was the key thing to make people watch this. They don't understand that this movie came out in 1986. Okay. Now that means technically the movie was made probably around 1985.
Yeah.
Now in 1986 and 85, yes, there were metal music, there was metal bands, but technically metal did not hit its peak until 1987. So when this movie came out using heavy metal, heavy metal was still on the ground. So anybody who watched it understand that a kid being picked on for liking certain kind of music really did happen. Okay, the popularity of heavy metal where it got accepted across genres didn't happen until 1987. These are the albums that came out. I know we're talking horror, but I'm just giving little people a little bit of a history. Okay, 1987 was the year. Okay, before 1987, you did have your AC/DCs, you had your Van Halens, but those were rare, own genre type of music. Okay, there wasn't. If you take AC/DC out, and if you take AC/DC and Van Halen out, there wasn't like pop music metal yet. Okay, there really wasn't. Aerosmith, if you remember, Aerosmith was huge in the 70s. Aerosmith died out in the early 80s. Aerosmith was dead in the water. Okay, Aerosmith did not get back on track until Run DMC did Walk This Way. Aerosmith, that got him back up there, because now 1987 was the year that Aerosmith Permanent Vacation came out. The Dude Looks Like a Lady got big. This is the album that came out that got metal popular. You have Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, when Living in a Prayer was huge. And then you have Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. And then the song, the actual song that broke all barriers, where it got music to be accepted, people might not know this, is actually Pour Some Sugar on Me. Was the song that broke where other genres like, oh my God, this is cool, where it wasn't just watching Hey Bangers Ball, because in 86, if you and I want to see a music video of heavy metal, you had to watch Hey Bangers Ball.
Headbangers Ball, late night. You had to stay up. Well, everybody was staying up late anyway. There was a metalhead, but yeah, Headbangers Ball. They would bring it out. Yeah, you would have, even if you want to see alternative music, you had to stay up real fucking late for that one. Yeah. But yeah, Headbangers Ball. Remember, they were actually alternative music was at midnight, 120 minutes. That's right. Yeah,
because Headbangers Ball was considered devil's music. Now, when Pour Some Sugar on Me broke through, that's when. Now, remember, people might say, "Did Def Leppard's band sold out?" No. Actually, if you look at the history of Pour Some Sugar on Me, it was the last song created for the album. The band already finished the album, and then the composer said he heard the lead singer like doing harmony of the song, like, that sounds good. And the studio did not want that song out. They said, no, we want to put the album on. They go, no, we need this song. And actually, that song, Pour Some Sugar on Me, wasn't even the first single off that album, off the Def Leppard Hysteria album. It was the third single. The first one was a song Woman that flopped, an Animal, and then Pour Some Sugar. And then, so I'm saying it wasn't planned that heavy metal got into the pop music status, not like all the way out there, but popularity. So when this movie came out, heavy metal was still considered the devil's music. Was still considered, the devil's music, basically. So when I was saying this yesterday, Bob, how this movie broke a lot of different kind of barriers, where if anybody who watched this, you could relate to this movie, because the victims was not the people who got killed by the electricity out of the guitar. Sammi Curr is the guy who's considered the evil demon in this movie. All right, Sammi Curr and the actor Ragman were actually the victims in the whole movie. If you guys watch this movie, they were the victims. Okay, now you're asking me, like, how can a killer be a victim? Listen, the story goes you watched this yesterday, Bob.
I watched it today.
Well,
on YouTube, it's on there. Put the link in. Yeah, I watched it today. I loved it. I remembered it. Like, oh my God, this is the day. This was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you watch the movie, Ragman's a character that goes to this high school that he was picked on by kids. They picked on him. They all because he liked a certain kind of music. He wasn't like poor. If you seen the movie in his house, he had a nice house in the movie, but he was picked on for the music that he liked. In fact, the freaking preppies in the movie almost killed him. I mean, they put. Hopefully, everybody's seen the movie. When he went to the pool party, right? First of all,
spoiler alert. Spoilers.
Before the pool party, they picked on him so bad where they broke into his locker, they pulled out his cassettes, and they pushed him into the gym naked. And all the girls are laughing at him and takes pictures. Now, a lot of people have breaking points. So a lot of people could be broken right there, okay? Now, when he went to the pool party, the fuckers actually put a weight in his backpack, threw him in the water. He went down. He was going to drown if it wasn't for that girl swimming in the water because none of those tricks were going to save him. So if that was you, anybody in the chat, if that was you being picked on in life, if they threw you in a water, I guarantee you're going to want revenge.
Yeah.
You're going to want revenge. I mean, everybody in life has been Ragman.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody, even right now, people in the Mandela Effect community, you can even say people in the flat earth community, paranormal community, if you tell people what you like, they look at you like you're a freak. They look at you like you're Ragman. You're a freak. What are you doing here? We don't want you. And I guarantee if that girl was there, I know it's a movie, but if the girl was there to pick him up, they would have let him drown. They would have just told the cops that he came in here, committed suicide. We didn't see him go in the water. They would have let him die.
But let me say this though, Eric. I'm bad. Let me save the preppies a little bit of hard time right now for going to prison. I was wondering about that myself. Now I'm thinking, although these guys are assholes, and they are, there's no defending them. They're 100% pricks. They push him in the fucking pool. They put a weight in his backpack. He's laying on the back of the fucking bottom of the pool, and he can't get the backpack off. She's fucking drowning, man. The girl saves him. She pulls the backpack off, and he sits up in the water, and he grabs this little thing he's holding up. But I heard them shouting one weird thing. I don't know if you heard this part. They said, "Hey, man, you're in the little kids' pool." So he was technically only from observing for what they were. I say no, I'm not defending him. They were shouting, "Hey, you're in the little kids' pool." So technically, he could have sat up, I guess, in their minds and stood up out of the little kids' pool. That's what I got out of it. I'm like, oh.
At the time, he was, he had his backpack, so he's
laid on his back.
Yeah, sure. Right. He got a little paranoid, and he couldn't get out because you panic. People panic. It's just like people are in an ocean. You see this in the Coast Guard all the time, where the husband sometimes freak out and jumps on top of the person and actually cause the other person to drown because of fear. So, and they were watching him in the water, like being drowned, and of course the girl saved him. Now his idol. Now everybody has idol when they grew up. Somebody who kind of, when you feel like you're outcast, you kind of try to find an idol that kind of like was an outcast like you. Now in this character, Sammi Curr went to the same high school. He went to the same shit. They pushed him. They where he left town. They didn't really go into when he left town, but he got to a point where they actually broke him. I mean, Sammi Curr was actually broken. Okay.
Yeah.
Where he had a deal to play back at that high school, and then the town had a vote, and they banned him to play at his own high school. So you can say that Sammi Curr was just broken.
Yeah.
Now they never really said when he died in that fire. They never really said, did he start the fire? did he kind of commit suicide? The thought process was he was doing some kind of witchcraft and he caused himself to die in a fire. But they never really said for sure, was it a suicide or was it just bad luck that the motel he was staying on catch on fire?
But Gene Simmons, which is in the movie, Gene Simmons, which is in Kiss, he's in Kiss, is it also Ozzy Osbourne. But Gene Simmons did say, Eric, he did say, hey man, you know, he basically, he didn't say it, but you're right. Like, hey man, basically the dude committed suicide. He didn't just die, he lit the room on fire. So it's a catch-22 because the only reason why you would even have that idea in your head, because again, they didn't say he committed suicide. They just said, hey, man, Gene Simmons, he was a disc jockey trying to calm the kid down because he just died and that was a kid's idol. He's like, hey, man, you know, you don't go out like that. He's not a god. He's not a god. Hey, man, you need to snap out of it. He's not a god. You know, just don't give him.
You're right. You're right. And of course, when you get older in life like us, we realize that the only God is yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I used to be a point where I wanted autographs, you know, but I would never, ever pay a fucking dollar for an autograph. You should never have to pay $1 for an autograph. But what I'm going to do is I got the trailer. Let me play the trailer just so people kind of see, if they haven't seen the movie, what it looks like, you know, in the first place. So let me play this trailer, and actually, Bob, I actually downloaded a scene of the Ozzy Osbourne scene playing the Reverend, which I think is a badass scene. I think people need to see it, but I'll play the trailer first.
I watched it with some Brits. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I watched it with some Brits, and their fucking jaws dropped. They said, that's not Ozzy. I said, yeah, that's Ozzy in 1986. No, it's like, well, actually 85 when they filmed it, like 85. I said, yeah, that's Ozzy. It don't look like Ozzy. So that is Ozzy.
This is the trailer, guys. This is a trailer to Trick or Treat, so you guys kind of know what we're talking about. Here we go.
Wake up, sleepyhead. It's body time. Rock and roll will never die. At least not this Halloween.
I heard of raising spirits from the dead by incantations, right? Yes. I did that by playing a record backwards. Kidding.
Sammi Curr. He's a rock and roll nightmare.
Ozzy.
I am a big fan of yours. I've got all your records. Shut up. The thing is you. This message was meant for you.
Yeah.
What have you done to your stereo?
I wanted to know it. Sammi Curr. His fans won't let him die. He won't let them live. You should be loyal to your hero. Make it tell you.
Cheese rub.
Trick or treat.
Your soul.
Party punch.
Rockin' at the midnight, pay your toll.
You know, technically, that soundtrack was done by a band called Fastway. Fastway, and it was actually technically the only good album they have ever done.
Yeah, I never heard of them until the movie, and I'm like, Fastway, who the fuck are Fast? I go, they're pretty good. The album's good. You go look at it.
Right, the voice is great. You know, so you know, going back, like you said, you know, they almost killed the fucker. So back in the 80s and 70s, we all know the story how the records where the idea was there were messages on records. And
I remember that
record backwards, you could actually hear the real message. Now, there's different conspiracy theories of what certain things were saying. I mean, you can have a whole field day of doing a show about what albums have messages going backwards. But the idea of like they said in the movie, that the idea was they wanted kids to scratch up their records so they go buy a new one. They say it's a money making scam. I don't know. Maybe it is, or maybe the bands really did have a message. So he had the only copy ever made, like the final album that he did. So when he plays it backwards, it tells him exactly how to get revenge. Now, when he was getting revenge, Bob, he wasn't killing them. He wasn't like, I'm here. He wasn't doing the Crow where death is the only revenge. He just wanted to feel normal. And when he was actually getting revenge, he went to school feeling like a man again.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. These kids deserved it. Okay. They deserved it. So, and everybody, now you yourself, Bob, you had friends during that time where you guys, a lot of your friends were dressing up like punk rockers or dressing up like heavy metal, where it wasn't accepted at school. And then you guys got into a game called Dungeons and Dragons, when it was like it was almost like brand new. You yourself and friends got thrown out of school into a secondary school because the way you guys looked, the way you guys were talking, because they thought you guys were talking about having swords, chop people's heads off, and you guys are talking about a game. So you yourself has experienced what Ragman has experienced, to a point where you guys were thrown out of school.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was playing with a bunch of nerds. I was playing with, I'm gonna call it what I am too. So I'm calling myself playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it was fun, man. It was a mental game. It was not computer. It was a big, the dungeon master. I had little figurines. We had a big ass map laid out where it was really fun. We played all night, all the morning till fucking evening till fucking next morning. With coffee and sugars and food, and just keep playing. We didn't like Ollie. We played like Ollie. It was the funnest thing I've ever done in my life when it comes to. I like playing fucking whatever. No, man, you have never played Dungeons and Dragons in real life using your own brain, your own conversation in a room with other people, making decisions, passing notes to the dungeon master. It is a blast, but you take it with you, and even though the game is over, you're at school, and I'm seeing the nerds, friends that play the game. Of course, we're using the language, Eric. You know what I'm talking about? We're using the language. Next time, man, I'm going to take your head. I'm going to take your head clean off. I'm going to kill your dragon. I'm going to kill your familiar. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to steal your gold. Teachers are going, what are they talking about? Must be Satan worshipers. Gosh, man.
Yeah. You guys were Ragman. You guys got thrown out of school. Because teachers could not accept what people were going through, what people look like. I had earrings in my ear. Teachers pulled out the earrings out of my ear saying, boys don't wear this. So when you watch Trick or Treat, that shit really happened.
Yeah.
Okay? It really happened. Now, so when Sammi Curr was coming back, everybody says now there's Val Paranormal. Now, maybe Val could help us with this question. Now, they say a lot of ghosts, or a lot of, I don't know, maybe demons, I don't know, or ghosts or spirits are made of energy, correct?
Yeah, right.
So I'm curious. I want to know if I'm right. Bill, is it possible that spirits of people, whatever, because I heard, they need electricity, energy, and they take energy away from people so they can try to show themselves. If you heard that, I've heard that. Yeah. So if you think about it, him coming back, almost all electricity makes sense because you need energy to come back. So basically, when the album's playing, if you destroy the electricity, if you destroy the power around them, you can make them go away.
Well, that was the premise of the whole movie. He was like, he could come through the electricity. So people understand he traveled through the electricity. So wherever you played his music, wherever his song was playing, if you had it in your house, he'd come through your electricity. So I mean, there was a disc jockey that was again, spoiler alert, was going to play. It is it is Halloween, so he's playing it as a tribute to him at midnight. So he's playing it all over town. So now Sammi Curr, or was it Sammi Curr? Yeah. Yeah, he can go anywhere he wants, anywhere, any house, as long as the song is playing, he can come through it. Now, here's the weird part. How many fucking heavy metals do you have in one town? I didn't think anybody could listen to that heavy metal channel, but I guess they do. That was weird, though.
Well, I think it was probably more of probably like a rock and roll, kind of a classic rock. And then, since that person came from that town, kind of like give that person extra respect and maybe play with their songs because it came from the same town. Because we all know, back in '86, you couldn't turn on the radio and just hear a metal song.
No.
Like I said, that didn't come until '87, '88 when it finally kind of broke through, which a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the metal they hear nowadays on the radios, on TV, the videos, you have to think the freaking bands, the heavy metal bands of the 80s and 70s that metal, okay, everybody says that grunge took over everything. Now, there's a difference between grunge and heavy metal. I want to break this down when we get back into the movie.
Heroin.
When grunge just came out, hit it big, right? It's just gigantic. It hit huge. Metal, when it finally took flight in 87, 88, metal's been around since mid 70s and 80s. It took almost 10 years to really hit it, and it opened the door. Now, once that floodgate opened, then it allowed the grunge to come in. It allowed punk music to be on the radio because punk music wasn't on the radio. I mean, believe it or not, I know Green Day is more commercial punk, but they wouldn't even been on the radio if it wasn't for the bands that came out in the 80s. Now, and these bands weren't like nowadays when you get a record deal, they want a number one hit song right off the bat.
Yeah.
When I told you how Pour Some Sugar on Me finally broke that barrier, that was the fourth album of the band that finally hit it. It took bands 3 to 4 albums to even finally made it big. It wasn't like first album, boom, out there. They had to work and build their craft to that point. So all this modern day music, they should think a lot of these bands, because of this era, that had a fight, but it was called the devil's music, was called garbage, Satan. I mean, really, punk and metal opened the doors. Remember Bob Social Distortion said that in a concert, he goes, remember Mike Ness goes, you couldn't go to the mall and get your little ears and your little pussy pierced. Okay, now you can. That was because of the music genre of punk and metal, what it did. So it took down a lot of barriers. People don't even talk about the barriers. Bruce Springsteen, great band. Bryan Adams, they're good musicians, but they didn't break down no barriers.
No.
They broke down no barriers.
Well, they were winning awards. They were winning music awards. I remember when the music awards were coming around. It's kind of funny how it reverses itself. It's kind of weird how the music award. No heavy metal band could get in the music awards and win an award. They couldn't get any heavy metal bands to win awards. And then rap, forget it. There was no rap. Heavy metal was trying to make it in. And heavy metal was the one bitching and whining about not getting in there. Rap didn't have nothing. I mean, it wasn't even, R&B wasn't even in there. And then finally they got heavy metal. Finally they got grunge. And then rap took over. Then they have R&B, who was the underdog way back. And then the R&B was on top. It's like ba-boom, ba-boom. But now heavy metal's back at the bottom. There's no heavy metal. I mean, it's all back at the bottom of the barrel. Who was it? Maybe people in the chat. I can't remember the band. I don't know if you guys remember this. During the not Golden Globes, one of the major award shows with the trophies, they finally actually first time had
a heavy metal category for the best heavy metal album. And if you remember, Metallica was nominated, but they gave it to
who was it, man?
They gave it to a band that wasn't even metal. Oh my god! The flute guy, the flute.
Oh, they gave it to Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull, the very first heavy metal album that the award show said, we're going to recognize metal because now it finally hit that pop level. And then they came out with the award, and then they gave it to Jethro Tull over Metallica. Over fucking Metallica. There's Metallica on the side. I don't know if you remember this. They showed the drummer and Metallica on the side, like looking like, really?
What the just happened? Jethro Tull is like, did I just win an award for heavy metal?
He's a flute player. A flute player won it. So
let me say this, Eric. I like Jethro Tull. Okay, guys, I like Jethro Tull. I'm not putting him heavy metal.
He's not heavy metal.
Oh God! I love Jethro Tull.
It would be like, it would be like
Jethro Tull.
Be like Metallica winning award for best country album of the year.
Yeah, put up a picture of Jethro. Everyone's on with the Jethro Tull. Put up a picture of Jethro Tull. You gotta see this guy again. I like him. They're an English band. They're a mix of rock and roll and like British Celtic music. It's kind of a blend. It's a really unique sound. Now, again, it's not heavy metal. It's its own category for its own type of music. So I don't get that. I like Jethro Tull. I'm like, no. I knew a guy that was a roadie. Oh, I knew a guy who was a roadie for Jethro Tull, man. He said Jethro Tull stunk. Like he stunk real bad.
Jethro Tull, I'm having problems spelling. I'm not getting it. Pull up.
Jethro, Jethro.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. For some reason, it wasn't coming up. Images. Let me share screen. Let me get this one off. Share. Like I say, with this movie, you could go in so many directions, man. And look, that guy won it for best heavy metal album.
Oh yeah.
So
no
you
wonder.
think people that heavy metal was just had it easy in the 80s? You don't know. You haven't lived in the 80s. You don't understand that metal took 10 years to finally get to that point.
But Jethro Tull, man.
And then of course everybody always says, grunge. But if you really think about it, grunge only lasted like
short time, man.
Like 3-4 years. And metal, when it hit it big, it took 10 years just to hit it big. So metal music had a longer lasting. And if you do concerts now, the metal bands of the 80s still touring.
Don't mind stealing bread. Something my digger. I'm going hungry.
Now, this is one of the things that was brilliant about the movie.
Where's brilliant about the movie?
Ozzy Osbourne. They took this guy who's known supposedly at the time, bite heads off of bats. We worship the devil. You know what I mean? He was Satanist. He caused kids to commit suicide. Okay. Now this is the scene. This is a brilliant scene. So let me share this scene of Ozzy Osbourne. Let me get it. Let me share screen. Hold on.
If you look at the Black Sabbath, the original Black Sabbath, when he was in it, lyrics. If you look at the lyrics, it's Christian based. There's no Satan worshiping in it. It was a lie. They were actors, man. It was fake.
So
fake.
So this is the scene, an Ozzy Osbourne scene. Now he's going to be shown on a TV screen. So this is how his guest appearance is. It's on a TV screen. It's not like, well, you'll see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Here we go.
Fine talent and beautiful personality, Miss Muffy Singleton. And we're back, evangelist and moral crusader the Reverend Aaron Gilstrom, who's dropped by with some visual aids. We're talking today about rock pornography. And all that, we have some pretty ribald stuff.
Wow, the 80s, man.
Rockers really have a strange sense of humor, don't they?
I don't really think it's a sense of humor. I think they're just out and out sick people. I mean, and they're trying to make everyone else around them who listen to their music as sick as they are.
Reverend, let me ask you a question. This album,
I love it.
Do It Like a Dog. Now, this has to be about animal behavior.
Do it like a dog.
For example, I have one of the lyrics. Tell me what you honestly think.
Go right ahead.
Gonna drive my long steel missile down on your love channel. Deep, deep, you'll beg for more. Raising hell and serpent score. Feel me, feel me. Now, what
Nice.
does it mean to you? To me, it means nothing but a sexual act. Demonic beast. What happened to the good old simple love song? I love you. That's a good word to use. Nowadays, they have to write some sickness. It's just absolutely sick and bizarre, and I'm going to do my utmost best to try and stop it now.
Anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
These evil people have just got to be stopped.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's brilliant. You take a man who they're saying that he's a Satanist, but he's not. But put him as like a reverend was genius. You know who produced this movie? This movie was not poorly done with poor budget.
It's a good movie. It's quality.
Dino Lee. Hold on. Let me go here. I always have problems saying this production company. Let me remove this. I'm gonna move up because I always do IMDb. Let people know how much this movie cost to be made. This movie was by Charles Smith, but Dino Lee Laurentiis was the company that backed this movie. Dino Lee Laurentiis. I'll tell you another movie that this company did, Bob, that you will recognize.
No.
Dino Lee Laurentiis is the company behind Conan the Barbarian with Arnold.
No.
Yes.
The original.
Yes.
The original.
Yes.
Crumb.
So this movie was done by a real production type company, and if you look at the IMDb, now the movie costed $3 million to make. Now they actually made almost $7 million. Now $3 million, $7 million, and they didn't do a lot of marketing for this movie. So technically, this movie made double its money back. When you make a movie with a low budget, you can make a good budget.
Yeah.
Now, this is the storyline. If you go by the storyline, this is what the storyline says, people. I'm just going to read you the storyline. You saw the trailer, but hard rock idol Sammi Curr burns to death in a hotel fire. His biggest fan is a resident metalhead, Eddie Weinbauer. He was devastated. I mean, anybody gets devastated when they have somebody they looked up to, a big, it could be an athlete, could be anybody that, dies. And then, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we all get it. But so it made money. Now the smartest thing they did was not try to make a sequel, because the movie was perfect alone. If you try to make a sequel, it's gonna be stupid. Now, what does this person say? He is a Satanist. Who isn't a Satanist? Ozzy Osbourne?
No.
Listen, Ozzy is too dumb. Ozzy, I love Ozzy. Ozzy has one of the best voices you're ever going to hear. It has the most unique voice. But Ozzy should thank his career to his wife, Sharon. Sharon Osbourne is what really kept Ozzy going.
Yeah, I hear a repeat. Is that
The what?
do we hear a repeat on your end? Oh, never mind. I have a repeat. No, yeah, Sharon, she's the one that kept him sober. She sobered him up.
Well,
but Ozzy's not it's an act, people. It's an act. He didn't really buy an act.
No. He didn't buy the no.
Yeah, he didn't bite no head off, no back. It's an act. They go on stage and they act. But if you sit down and actually read the lyrics, man, you're gonna see a lot of Christian undertones to it. They're just singing about fighting the system. Fighting the system. I pissed on him. He's fighting the system.
Man, I wish
No, I'm
James
not
was on board. I wonder what when you say you piss on heavy metal, are you saying you're pissing on it because you do feel that it's a devil's music, or is it just not your genre type of music?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
curious.
Eric's a heavy metalhead. I was punk rock. I liked alternatives. I liked all the different stuff. So different things are different people. But again, I'm not going to put down heavy metal because I had a lot of heavy metal friends, and I'm smart enough. And I went to college and I read the lyrics. And I'm like, this reminds me of The Cure. Like The Cure won an award for being the gothic. The Cure's real gothic. But if you actually listen to The Cure, they're pretty upbeat. Friday, I'm in love. Saturday, I'm like, wait, they're not really gothic. A lot of acting goes into these performers, and don't fall into the trap. They're not that bad. Their lyrics, to me, they gave me a lot of that music. Gave me a headache. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like, I can't listen. There's too many I can't. Eric loved it, cranked it up. I'm like, shit, man. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go listen to some Peter Tosh, some reggae. But yeah. So I mean, you got to be careful with the metalheads. It's not that bad.
You know why Rob Morrell is shocked? This movie was directed by Charles Martin Smith. Charles Martin Smith directed another pretty popular movie. Well, I'm not saying Trick or Treat was popular. Remember Untouchables?
Yeah, Untouchables.
The same director who directed this movie directed The Untouchables.
Oh God, no, that's good quality. That's a great movie. A lot of great actors in it. Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner, one of them, right? Yeah,
he directed Untouchables right after Trick or Treat.
Yeah,
that was his big movie. So people need to and he also he directed some series on Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, and he actually did some X-Files shows too. So this movie is directed by a real, pretty respectable director in Hollywood.
Yeah. Again, I was a lot of friends in the heavy metal. I just couldn't. English is a Freemason and King James is okay. That's cool. What's English? English is a Freemason. I didn't know that. What is Dutch? What is Dutch?
Who is this James guy?
I don't know what English is. That English is a band? Is that a band? I like Poison. Oh, he's a Poison fan, Eric.
Okay.
Now Eric's Poison. Okay, he's a Poison fan. Yeah, we like Poison. Eric liked Poison. I could listen to Poison. I just can't look at them because they're too pretty of a men. They're too pretty. But Eric likes Poison, so he's a Poison fan.
What I'm saying is Poison was part of that 87, 88 where their song like Every Rose hit #1 that helped break down the barriers for the popular side. So it's weird that when you think bands from the 80s, you also have to put Poison in that category because they had the hits that helped with here to here. And then, of course, once the floodgates open, here comes all the bands. But people don't do that. People don't think about that, Bob. People don't think about the music they're hearing now. What are the bands that helped? It wasn't the 70s bands.
That's how
dead in the fucking water if it wasn't for Run DMC. And then 87, Permanent Vacation, Dude Looks Like a Lady, helped break that barrier to get everybody to be on top 40 radio. Because you would never hear top 40 radio with metal music.
Rebel music. It's just rebel music. It broke the barriers. It broke all the stereotypes. In fact, back in my time at the university, we talked about hair bands. And so I had a professor who talked about hair bands. What are the hair bands? The true hair bands. I'm like, hair bands, heavy metal. They go, no. Hair bands is what you used to call classical music from back in the day. Baroque. How many of you guys know about Baroque music? I bet you some people know about Baroque. Baroque was the heavy metal of the classical music, whatever, back in the day. Baroque means misshapen pearl. A pearl is got its perfect little pie, whatever, 4 point, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Pies, perfect circle. Baroque is a pearl. So Baroque means misshapen pearl. And during the Renaissance of the time, Baroque was the heavy metal. It was classical music, but it was heavy metal. So if you guys listen to the Baroque, you want to go back and listen to heavy metal back then, if you're a classical person, go listen to Baroque. Now, I know a lot of people say heavy metal sucks, but they'll listen to Baroque. I said, well, that's heavy metal. Baroque and heavy, it's just a different fucking name, but it's the same kind of mind-bending rebel music, because Baroque broke all the rules. Classical music, Baroque broke all the rules. Heavy metal was the same thing as Baroque.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
I'm going to try to explain this to Suzanne. She wrote, I don't know what you're saying about heavy metal underground time. What I'm trying to say is Suzanne, up to the year 87, most metal you had to watch on Headbangers Ball on MTV.
Yeah,
Headbangers Ball was the channel where if you want to see heavy metal bands, I'm not talking about like not Aerosmith, but like AC/DC and Van Halen. Those were the rare bands. But majority of metal you can only watch at 120 minutes. Now in 1987, I don't know. It's weird saying Bon Jovi because is he heavy metal or is he just a little harder rock? But whatever. Bon Jovi had the Beautiful Teeth, where music start with when Bon Jovi came out and when Def Leppard came out with Pour Some Sugar on Me. It was actually played on top 40 music where metal was not. Once those songs got played on a top 40 station, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Living on a Prayer, hit the top 40, then all those videos on Headbangers Ball started to be played 24 hours.
Yeah.
Once you got your video being played 24 hours, these bands went from selling, Def Leppard sold 5 million copies of Paranoia, right, Bob? Paranoia right before Hysteria.
Yeah.
When Hysteria broke loose in 87, it was playing 24 hours. Instead of 5 million, they sold over 20 million copies. That's what I'm talking about. Music went from here, it got to here.
Yeah.
87 to 88. So when this movie came out in 86, it came out before metal was considered being cool.
Yeah.
Now, if this movie would have came out in 87, 88, there might have been a good chance that this movie could have done better because the movie would have been more accepted.
Yeah.
They made a movie about this cool genre.
Yeah.
But 86, metal still wasn't cool. You got to take Van Halen out. You can't, percentage of metal was underground. It really was. It's hard to know that. Even this guy wrote, here, this guy wrote Rat. Now, Rat,
yeah.
Rat Out of the Cellar.
That's right.
They were here. They weren't here until when 87 finally broke loose. Rat was finally like big arenas, and then all their older albums went from Cells, Stay Here, went to Up Here. So even elevated their albums from the past to even go up in sales. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like,
yeah. And then again, I always remind people 100% of the time, you got to understand they're performers. They're fake. You go to these guys' houses after the concerts. Yeah, there was a big, some of them, Quiet Riot, exactly. A lot of them were burnout drunks, but some of them were good fucking people. They went to college. They were college educated dudes. They weren't all like that. They were just putting on an act.
The Iron Maiden lead singer was
right?
Now, Quiet Riot did something did something rare in 1980, where Quiet Riot was the first band that was actually considered like a heavy metal genre and actually sold 1 million copies.
Yeah.
They never saw a fucking dime from that, but they actually sold 1 million copies. But what happened was the lead singer looks too goofy. He did. The lead singer looked goofy. After that one album, they never made it. They stayed dead. And every band, it's kind of sad. Every band after Quiet Riot all hit it huge, and Quiet Riot broke up.
Yeah. This is where I always argue with Eric about stuff. Judas Priest, yeah. I always said, Eric, only to me, though. This is Eric's going to completely disagree. I said it seemed like there was a time when them bands got real beautiful. And they went from hairband to makeup hairband, and the prettier you look, more of a beautiful woman you look like, and a good sounding band on back of it, you're gonna make it big. Uglier you are, even though you rocked, uglier you are, it seemed like you never made it. It's just like he's too ugly. Well, what's wrong with an ugly man rocking and rolling? And they're too ugly.
I put bands in phases.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, if you think of Phase 1 bands, Phase 1 are bands like Led Zeppelin, AC, Aerosmith, even Kiss. Def Leppard came out in 1978, so you can even put them in Phase 1 or Phase 2. And then you got Phase 2 bands. Phase 2, I consider bands like Motley Crue that came out in the early 80s. Motley Crue, Quiet Riot, Rat, they were in the 80s. And then you got Phase 3. Phase 3 was like the 87 bands. Now, Bon Jovi, I consider Bon Jovi as Phase 3. I really do. Now, no, hold on. Bon Jovi, you can say Phase 2 because they had 2 albums before Slippery When Wet. So, okay, Bon Jovi Phase 2. But Phase 3 were the last good bands. Were like Poison, Cinderella. You could even maybe say Warrant were like Phase 3. But then what happened was when all these bands were all over the radio stations put out these fucking Phase 4 bands that killed the genre, like Danger, Twixter. All these bands are just like it was like Phase 3 was the last of the bands that had talent. Cinderella, Tom Kiefer, they had talent. They knew how to play. Guns N' Roses, I consider Guns N' Roses Phase 3. Yeah. They were Phase 2, Phase 1. They were the last bands that were talented. Then Phase 4 when they just put out bands that didn't even know how to fucking play. Bob, no. I'm not going to do a Phase 4 show. A Phase 4 band, they had other musicians played in the recordings, and they had these guys just to look pretty. Killed the genre. Killed it. There's a band that came out in Phase 4 bands that just killed it. Judas Priest, I put Judas Priest in Phase 2 with Motley and all those bands that in the 78 that kind of like they were there. They were solid. But then Phase 3 helped all of them to even get bigger because Judas Priest was big. Yeah. But they didn't really hit maximum big until the Phase 3, Phase 2 bands finally hit, like Scorpions. Scorpions were like Phase 2. But because of Phase 3, it helped all those bands to erupt. I actually had bands in categories. I actually had Guns N' Roses probably like the last Phase 3 of what you call the solid, and then Phase 4 just fucked everybody in. And you know what? I'm going to say something. I agree with Zulu on this. I was never a Guns N' Roses fan. Axl Rose is a fucking dick. He's a prick. Dude, Bob, this is a true story. Axl Rose, his band were all fucked up on drugs. Now I'm not giving anybody excuses for being on drugs, but when they're all on drugs, Axl Rose had every band member sign off the rights to the band and the music all to Axl. So when the band I know the band's still touring, but the majority of all the money goes directly to Guns N' Roses. So you know how they're touring? Now Slash is in the band, but Slash and them, they're considered like higher guns. It's weird. It's weird. They're one of the original band members, but they're higher guns to Axl Rose because he went from that flimsy. And I wonder what the fuck. His hair was almost gone. Now the balding ass redhead. Now everyone knows redheads go bald. That was a redheaded ginger fucker, and that fucker was going bald. The next thing you know, he comes out with cornrows. A grown man, ginger man with cornrows. I was like, what the fuck is that? He had these cornrows coming off his head. I go, I can't do it. I'll listen to his music on the radio if there's a song or two comes up, but other than that, I'm not supporting that cocksucker. Cornrows on his head. Kiss is an interesting where you could do almost a whole show just on Kiss because Kiss is a band that was just there. They were there in the 70s. They were there in the 80s. And Paul Stanley were like geniuses where they never hit it like top 40. They were never out of it. But what they did was we're a stage band. Yeah. We are going to be a stage rock and roll band. They stayed alive because of their live shows. Yeah. Their biggest album. Their biggest albums for Kiss were live albums. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Never hit top 40. They were never like, they were just there. You know,
but you heard their music. Remember, their music was always live. It was like a live recording.
yes.
And you would listen to Kiss live. They're a live recording band. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I want to hear the live version of Kiss because their magic is live, only ever live. They remind me of the Ramones. Now, people like Ramones on the radio. I like Ramones live. I like to hear their live albums. I like to hear Kiss live albums. There's a lot of albums I only want to listen to live. And there's some albums I want to listen to on the recording because they suck. I want to hear the recording version of them. Right?
Gene Simmons is known. He is a dick.
He's a dick.
Yeah. He's a dick. He's a rich motherfucker because Gene Simmons will milk every little thing for that penny, for that dollar. Yeah. I mean, Gene Simmons is a businessman.
Yeah, Gene Simmons is in the movie, Eric. Don't forget to pitch that. He's in the movie.
It was the Trick or Treat movie. You know, because Gene Simmons and Paul McCartney fucked over Ace Frehley and Peter Criss in the band.
Right?
So, I mean, you could do a show just on Kiss. Yeah, my second record was Kiss Live. Yeah, Kiss. His first hit album was not the first album. Kiss' first hit was Kiss Alive. That was their first really big album. It was actually a live album.
What was that album that everybody had? Everybody had it. It was live. Something like Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton
live. When I was a kid, you go to anybody's house, no matter who the fuck they were, they're going to have Peter Frampton live album. You can go to anybody's party. They're playing a stupid. Now, Eric's a metalhead. I'm not a metalhead. But I'll be like, hey, man, this is some cool shit you guys are rocking. What the fuck is this? I'm with the guy about the pissing. I'm like, hey, you got Peter Frampton? Oh, you got to have Peter. Yes. Peter, thank God for Peter Frampton.
3 bands that made live albums very popular. 3 bands.
I like Boston, too.
Kiss, Peter Frampton, Johnny Cash, live at Folsom Prison. Those live albums sold better than a lot of the regular albums. A lot of bands can do that with live albums, but Peter Frampton, Johnny Cash, and Kiss did. They actually got more popular from their live album than actually a regular album. It's kind of weird, kind of phenomenon, but guys, that's what I'm telling you. Yesterday, that you could do almost 2-3 hours with how this movie it's just like it's a tree that sprouted roots to everything.
Yeah.
You know? So, guys, if you haven't seen this movie, if you go in the chat, remember I'll put the chat of this movie in the chat. Now, if you've never seen this movie, guys, I'm gonna put it right back here. You can actually watch this movie for free on YouTube. So you can watch this movie for free. It's a great fucking movie. Everybody can relate that. I would say everybody at one time in their life was a ragman, was picked on. So I say that the killer and ragman were technically the victims of society and how they were treated. That Sammi Curr they broke him. They didn't break ragman. They broke him. But you kind of understand why they did what they did. So, guys, that's it for today. Tomorrow, guys, Jay Dyer is going to be on the show. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be great. Do not miss tomorrow's show with Jay Dyer. The fucking guy is coming on the show.
Yeah, you're stupid if you miss it. Really, you're going to be stupid.
Really. So, guys, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.